Hey y'all, so today I wanted to do a video about fasting, and this video may just be a YouTube only because I was asked a question to make a video about fasting. I want to keep my promises. So either way, I digress. I wanted to just basically tell you the importance of fasting in these last of times, in these end of days, and just it's seriously important, and also bridging it into reality, current news, and obviously scripture included. But you know me, I like the apocryphal text, so I'm gonna put some, sprinkles of apocalyptic texts that talk about fasting in a different aspect than what you hear about in the canonical text. But either way, I digress. So fasting is really important because in these end of times, in these last days, you really want to be closer to God, right? As humanity is getting prepped to go into captivity, having messages from God is seriously important. And what fasting does is it weakens the body. When you're deprived of food and water for a length of time, your body becomes significantly weaker. And as your body gets significantly weaker, guess what? You get more open to the spiritual realm. You become more susceptible to it, in which your body or then your vessel can then have that gate to get messages from God and get the word from God in such a pure way. So one of the main reasons, the most important reason of fasting is getting closer to God. But another component that people don't talk about really about fasting is, in fact, what it does for you in these end of times. Because many people can give you the wisdom of the world, but they don't give you the wisdom of the world to come. And that's what you're prepping for, my friends, in these last days, in these end of times. And I'm not going to keep going back over it. You have to remember that after Christ died came life. Okay? So as I say that to you, when you fast, you are getting rid of desire of the body, strengthening your spirit. Because what many people don't recognize is that food, gluttony, is a major weapon for Satan to use to not only keep you trapped, but to keep you bounded to the desires of your body. Huge, big problem in these last days, in these end of times. And let me tell you something. Most people here are attached to food. And guess what? The archons, the powers that be, the people that are in charge, who are of the prince of airs and the seed of Satan, know that. And as these powers who do not love humanity know this about you, they will use these matters as a means to control you. So as you can see, I'll bring up current news now. There's a professional woman, many people in society would see her as goals, talking about a manufactured water crisis. Yeah, I said what I said. Yeah, and it's true. She figured, the V's weren't successful. Climate change is too abstract. Well, we need to then tackle the water. And if you haven't seen the news recently, there's a whole bunch of finding out that maybe your foods aren't so great, right? They're poisoned. Maybe your tap water isn't so great, it's poisoned. And this is why it's so important to understand the importance of fasting, right? Getting rid of that desire, getting rid of this hold, this clutch onto this world, because truly the best part of this world is really the food. Can we keep it real? Okay, so when you do that fasting, you're strengthening that spirit inside of you. Fasting kills desires of gluttony. Fasting helps strengthen your spirit. Fasting helps you keep from being bonded to this world by the food, by the tastes. And in these end of times, in these last days, you kind of want to be prepared for understanding that these powers who know that their day is coming are really trying to collect as many souls as possible, having people go before their time, or having people not in the know before their time. So getting messages from God, understanding God by fasting, spiritual strengthening by fasting is so important. This is why you shouldn't go by the knowledge of the world, because it changes. As you can see, these people are just trying to figure out a way they can get humanity to bend in a way where it's not too much pushback. This is how sick they are. So instead of the climate change that they've been promoting, now it's going to be a water crisis, because even kids can understand it verbatim from that video. Can you imagine? And another thing that fasting does is it quells fear. What do I mean by that? When you're fasting, for days, you're weak. You're just like, okay. You don't really have that strength. You really become meek and humble in flesh. And I want you to think about what happens when there's a news scare of, oh my gosh, this might be a shortage of food. What do people do? They run out to get food. They run out. And there's a fear incited in them because they're so stuck to this world. That's what fasting does. It gets you how do I say this properly? It gets you kind of unstuck. That's not a word, but whatever. To this world, right? And that's what you want to do. That's really what you want to do in these end of times. Do not be fooled. Do not believe these preachers of peace. There is no peace. Okay? So as I say that to you, get strong, girl. Get strong, boy. That's what you really want to do with fasting. And fasting is really promoted within the canonical text. I'll post a whole bunch of scriptures in there, but they tell you about fasting. But you know me, I like apocryphal text. So I'll say apocalyptic text. So one of the apocalyptic texts that I read is that they talk about a pure fast, because there are people here that fast, but it's not for good reasons. It's not for pure reasons. It's for reasons of worldly gain. It's not really because they desire to be close to God. They desire things of this world. And that's why many of these people fast. When you do a pure fast, according to this apocalyptic text, I'll post it in here, it is pleasing to God. But when you do not do a pure fast, it is actually angering to God. So people that you see always talking about fasting and this and that, and nothing really seems genuine about them, you should red flag. And in fact, within the apocalypse of Elijah, the idea that fasting was created for man in order to quell desires is talked about explicitly. Okay, so because you have to remember what world we're in. We are in a punishment, and we are amongst demons, seed of Satan, fallen angels, and their hybrids. This is not a Pleasantville, as much as they try to play it up as such. You're around evil beyond measurable rates, which is why I tell you always, we don't battle flesh and blood, we battle principalities and powers. So killing desire helps you not to become consumed by evil, consumed by desire. And this is talked about in Apocalypse of Elijah. So as I say that now, me personally, I fast a lot. I'm not gonna lie. And the reason why I do that is because I really hate this world. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate this world. I think it's so evil. I don't even want to be here. And the main reason why I fast is I need my Father, right? I want to be closer to God. I want to be near the sun. I want to be all of that. So that's why I fast a lot. And then I heard a little whisper in my ear and I just went crazy, guys. But I'm gonna digress on that. But either way, fasting for me is like something I do a lot because I want to kill desire. I don't bangs with this world. So as much as I can, I want to afflict my body so that my spirit can be strengthened. So one of the fasts, the longest fast I ever did was 5 days with no food and no water. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt like I was about to die. I felt weak. I felt like I couldn't move. And it's the matter of like no water, which really numbs it in there. So that, for me personally, I like to do fast with no food, no water. That's just my personal choice. But as you're starting out, you could just do no food for X amount of days, no water for X amount of days. But also, you know, in a matters of being safe, right? You want to look at online, and I guess I'll post it in here, appropriate days for you to not go without food or water. But I'll tell you what, I survived 5 days, 5 nights without food and water. So I don't know, I did. But there are regulations, and and I'll post that in here just so you know. But me personally, I personally like to just do the whole shebang. No food, no water, straight energy. And when you're doing a fast, you really don't want to look like you're just dejected and, oh, woe is me. You're not doing a fast for the public. You're doing a fast for God. You're doing a fast as a pure fast is for God. So, you know, sometimes I'll be fasting and nobody knows the difference, right? Like I'm just energy, and I don't drink coffee or nothing like that. I guess it's just that natural, right? But I'm energy, I'm hype, so nobody really knows that I'm fasting. And sometimes I make it a point to not really tell people I'm fasting. I'll be like, oh, you know, I ate something, but I'll be fasting. And lastly, recently I decided that I just like to do weekly fasts. I'm a person that likes to do weekly fast. I'll go 3 days. 3 days for me is nothing now. It feels like nothing. I'm fine. And without food and water. I mean, you could do it and tweak it to however you can manage, right? This is not a race. It's a journey. So, you know, when you're fasting, you really just want to do it purely and with good intention. Only blessings for me, like in my current state, is like being closer to God. If God gives me a sign, that's like me receiving the lotto. That's how I feel. So that's just my intentions with fasting. But you know, for others, it may be different, right? And that's not a problem. Asking, you shall receive, right? But for me, it's all about God. And I'm going to just drop this in here because as you're preparing your souls to be in these last days and these end of times for the world to come, not this world, the world to come, when you're fasting, when you're without, it's a great thing to do good within that time, loving fellow men, loving thy brother, and to give. The spirit of giving when you are without is extremely rewarding, not only for yourself, not only for the person to give it, but in the eyes of God, right? So that's very important. Me personally, I like to give when I'm without, and it makes me feel a little bit more better, and I obviously, felt closer to God. So either way, I digress. So I hope I made it clear for you. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the inbox. Gang, 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 gang.